Okay, guys, we're going to continue on with the second part of these 5.2 notes. What we want to do is find the inverse of a set of points, then graph both the function and its inverse. And again, I'll do two colors here. I'll call this one f of x. And then to get the inverse, I'll call it f inverse of x. I'll use that notation. This will be one of the first times we've seen that. And we'll figure out what that is. Now, let's graph f of x as it is right now. -3, -3. So plot that point. -1, 1. Plot that point. 0, 3. And 1, 5. And even though these dots look like they're in a straight line, it doesn't say anything about connecting them, so I'm not going to. Now, how will you find the inverse? Well, if you have a set of points already plotted, you can write down what they are and then simply switch x and y. And the reason why that works is because, again, going back to integrated 1, reflecting across y equals x, the rule for that is to just switch x and y. So your new points are going to be -3, -3. That's switching x and y, no change there. 1, -1. 3, 0, and 5, 1. And those will be your inverse points. So now you'll go ahead and plot those. Again, I've got that in my different color. So -3, -3. So we're over to -3, down to -3. We already had that point, but again, nothing changed when I switched x and y. 1, -1, over to 1, down to -1. 3, 0. And last point, 5, 1. Okay, and there will be your inverse. And if you actually graphed the line y equals x, which I'll do here real quickly, trying to find a different color, the line y equals x would start at 0, 0, go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and again you can see where it's a reflection across that line. These points have been reflected. Now, that's a lot of integrated 1 stuff that I'm not really worried about you knowing how to do. If you know how to switch x and y, you're good to go there. All right? So, for the next one here, again, I'll do this one in green. I will call it g of x this time. You can use whatever letters you want, h of x, m of x. You'll see me use lots of different things. So we'll say -2, +4. -1, +1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. Hey, if we were to connect those dots, that would be a parabola. You might remember about the vertical line test. Is that a function, straight up and down lines, if it only crosses one time? Yes, it is a function. And now what does the inverse of those points look like? So I'll call it g inverse of x this way. And it is the points 4, -2, 1, -1, 0, 0, just switching x and y, 1, 1, and 4, 2. So again, all I'm doing is just switching x and y for finding the inverse. So we're going to plot the points 4, -2, over to 4, down to -2, 1, -1, over to 1, down to -1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 4, 2. Okay, and there you go. Oh, I started connecting. I was excited about making a parabola. I really shouldn't have connected. Okay, it didn't indicate that I needed to do that. So ignore that connecting. It's just these dots. Sorry for that. Got excited, wanted to make the parabola. All right, so we know how to switch x and y. If they give you a set of points, you'll have to go through, like if they didn't give you this, but they just give you the graph, you'll have to go through and write, okay, this point was 2, -4, and then you can switch x and y to get this second picture. All right, so again, that's what I'm saying here in the notes. If a graph is already provided, it's easy to graph the inverse. Just find the coordinates, switch x and y. If asked to find the inverse equation of a function, okay, now this is the part of how to find the inverse. Switch x and y, then resolve that equation for y. Okay, now one thing to note, f of x and y are the same thing. It's just this is a stronger statement. I'm telling you this is a function. Each x will only have one y answer. Okay? All right, so to do this first one, we're going to switch x and y. So we're going to say x equals 2y plus 1. Okay, so again, we just switch x and y. And now we're going to resolve this for y. So we'll subtract 1 from each side. So we'll have x minus 1 equals 2y. And we'll divide each side by 2. So both parts divided by 2. And you're going to have y equals 1/2 x minus 1/2. Okay, dividing every part by 2. Now, I prefer that you wrote the inverse notation for that. So f inverse of x is the way you should write it, like this, is 1/2 x minus 1/2. And that would be the way we should write things. Okay, the f inverse of x is 1/2 x minus 1/2. Okay, let's try another one of those. So letter B, we're going to switch x and y, and then we're going to resolve for y. So we're going to say x equals y squared minus 3. Remember this g of x, f of x thing, that's y. So I was saying this was y, and I switched those two. Okay? All right, so now resolve for y. So we're going to add 3 to each side. Add 3. So you'll say x plus 3 equals y squared. And now to finish solving, you're going to square root each side. And you're going to say y equals, I kind of ran out of room there, so I'll write it up here. Y equals the square root of x plus 3. Okay, now technically it's plus or minus, because anytime you square root in that situation, it should be plus or minus. But we don't really know much about that. We haven't talked about it, so we'll leave it this way. Okay, you don't have to use the inverse notation. You can just say this is the inverse. That would be all right as well. And because that really isn't a function, the correct answer on that, that's more in detail than you know, that you need to know. All right, so let's go to letter C here. We are going to, again, switch x and y. So we're going to say x equals y cubed minus 8. We'll add the 8 over to the other side, so we'll say x plus 8 equals y cubed. Hopefully you remember that to solve a cube, you will cube root each side. Cube root. Or you'll use the reciprocal exponent power. That's a chapter that we learn about. You don't need to know about that either right now. So we're just going to say y equals the cube root of x plus 8. We're going to learn a lot about radicals and roots and things, so if you didn't fully catch on to what I was saying there, we'll get it. Okay, letter D. Let's see, again, we're going to switch x and y. It says find the inverse, so here we go. We're going to say x equals. Again, how do I know find the inverse? This is inverse notation, that f to the negative 1. That's how I know that. So x equals y minus 7 over 2. Okay, so how do we solve this? We multiply both sides by 2. So we have 2x equals y minus 7. Add the 7 to the other side, and you're going to have y equals 2x plus 7. There is your inverse. Okay, you can write it with inverse notation. F inverse of x equals 2x plus 7. That would probably be the best way, but I'll accept either way at this point. Now, we got a little more work to do here, these 3 questions, but I want to wait till you guys are in class with me on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Actually, no, we'll be doing this Thursday or Friday, these lessons. So we'll save that. This is a little complicated. I want to work together with you, give you the opportunity to kind of talk with me as we're doing it if you have questions. This, again, a little tough. So we'll save that for Thursday, Friday. All right. There's going to be one more set of videos for section 5.3 coming up, so you'll need to watch those for Thursday, Friday, and we'll be good to go. All right. Have a good afternoon.